is. I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth.
And we are Steel Magnolias.
Two sisters who love family, traditions, and all things Southern.
We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Hey, Lainey.
Hi, Laura Beth.
Boy, we had a fun weekend celebrating you.
I had a birthday.
You did. And I tried something that I hadn't tried before.
And boy, am I glad you did.
Well, when we had Carmen on the show,
Yes.
for our multi-generational chat, she mentioned how wonderful of an addition a good simple syrup is to a cocktail.
Yes. As
And-
did Peggy No Stevens.
Yes.
She talked about that as well.
Well, I didn't disagree at all.
Yeah.
I just haven't done very much of that. And so in this month's Southern Living, they have all these different Southern drinks and cocktails and mocktails as well.
Love it.
And so I tried the lemon basil spritzer as our sort of kickoff
to the party.
family dinner last night, and it was a home run.
It really
And
was. Especially because it's stinking hot outside.
It is,
So
and I
bring
knew it
me
would be.
something refreshing.
Yes, I knew it would be hot, and it was so easy. So I will definitely post a link to that in our show notes. But no, it can be made a mocktail as well, and that's mentioned in the recipe as well. And so, yeah, I'm going to start messing around with more simple syrups
Simple
this summer.
syrups are great for a number of reasons. One, it's one step that's already complete before people come, so you're not
Yes.
frantically being a bartender.
Yes.
And second of all, most of them that I've tried, most recipes will say you can make ahead and keep it in the refrigerator for 3 weeks.
Yes.
So that's really nice too, because you could make enough
Yeah.
for a few gatherings.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something.
I mean, I would say if it's going to not be used that day, put your simple syrup in the fridge. I'm raising my hand as guilty of creating an ant infestation one
They
time.
love sugar. So
When I just left,
Yeah.
it was in a container, but it
Sure.
wasn't airtight. And so just a regular simple syrup that I was going to be using for sweet tea.
they sent the signal out and the whole troop came.
Word got out, and it was very, very difficult to...
Those little teeny, they sometimes are called sugar ants because
That's what
are
they were
coming
then.
for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so...
keep it in the fridge. But I mean, you can experiment with all kinds of fruits or herbs.
Right.
There's peaches in season, blackberries.
Yeah.
There's so many fun summer fruits,
Yeah.
or basil, rosemary, just
Yeah.
all different directions
Yeah.
you can go.
And it truly is simple.
Yeah.
I mean, so I would encourage everybody to maybe mess around with that and try that this summer. So, well, when we were preparing for today, we felt a lot of heaviness around just
The circumstances of our world.
our hurting nation and all of the racial upheaval that we have all been watching
Yeah.
unfold in our cities and our towns and then as our nation. And we definitely want to have an uplifting conversation about that. And we are lining up an episode that I'm really looking forward to. But we're going to invite probably another participant into that conversation. And we want to do that in July. And so wanted to just acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And mention that is going to be a part of our summer content. But we watched a really good
Yeah.
film that we also felt that we really wanted to talk about today as well. So,
Well, and not to sound, I don't know, I just was sitting here as you were talking just in this moment thinking anything you're going to talk about with racial issues, you don't want just two white girls talking about it.
exactly.
So we're just putting a pause on that subject, and then we're going to talk about one that I think two white girls can talk about a little
Exactly.
easier.
Yeah, yeah.
We watched a wonderful movie on Hulu called Neat.
Yes. A documentary.
It's a documentary about bourbon.
Yeah.
But I want to say, regardless of if you drink bourbon, like bourbon, you will be fascinated watching this hour and 15-minute documentary.
Yeah.
because it gives a piece of American history. It gives, certainly if you're from the South or Kentucky, you're going to have an even added fascination to this bourbon making process. But what I was surprised by and was, I don't know, I felt a lot of feels watching this movie.
Both of us did. We watched it together. Yes.
And I think we were both in tears at the end.
I was in tears twice.
Had to do with savoring life with your family and friends.
Yes.
Which is kind of totally aside of bourbon, but because bourbon takes a while to make, it just sets the table for savoring.
Yes.
Which is what we wanted to kind of talk about today.
Exactly.
Enjoying this lovely thing that comes out of these barrels, this liquid, this beautiful brownish, caramelish liquid that comes out of these barrels, that you can enjoy with family and friends.
Yeah.
And I believe, June 14th is National Bourbon Day.
Yes.
So this is like a perfect time.
That
to
was
talk
kind of
about
our
this.
just icing on the cake of, okay, let's talk about
Definitely.
bourbon today. Even though we've done a full bourbon episode, and I'll link that in the show notes if you want kind of a 101 of bourbon. Lainey did a great job, actually, giving us some content and history.
Well, and then we had Peggy No Stevens of the founder of the Bourbon Women Association. She has a new book out, Which Fork Do I Use with My Bourbon?
Love that title.
And we had her on, and that was a great episode too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this isn't our first time touching this.
So Neat actually came out in 2018. So I don't know if we're late to the party. I'm kind of used to being late to the party.
Me as
but
well.
Again, I just want to echo what you just said. Even if you're not a bourbon lover, or even if you don't partake of spirits, I think if you love stories, storytelling, if you love the element of family, legacy,
Generational,
there's a lot of talk about
passing
generations.
things down. Yeah.
And it's 75 minutes. So, I mean, that's not too long. But it was so moving to think about. One of the things that stood out to me was in the process being so long for the bourbon that you start to actually become from corn to bourbon, that very few people that are involved in distilling actually get to see batches that they had their hand in come to fruition.
They said you'll usually potentially see 2 full batches, but not usually that third one.
Yeah.
If it's, a long-term barrel.
Yeah.
Let's say a 15, 20-year barrel, certainly a 25-year barrel. You're not going to see that third one.
And so thinking about just moving through life in general, we learn as we make mistakes. We learn as we get more experience with things, whatever those things may be. If you only have a couple of instances, where you're really getting to go, okay, we could have done this better or that better, or I would have done this different, you almost have to pass it down to the next generation. And we especially loved the guy that, I know he was at Buffalo Trace, but what was his name?
Freddie Johnson.
Yes.
Who's a third generation.
We really were moved by his story.
Got to meet that man and sit with him.
Of him, watching his grandfather work in Buffalo Trace and
his father,
but then not really wanting to take over father's job, so trying his own path, but then really circumstances bringing him back around. And he is definitely a proponent of don't let bourbon sit and age on a shelf or sit and age in your, home bar, because that is doing a disservice for the reason that it was even created, which was to really enjoy.
People.
Yeah. So,
very moving.
Very, very moving. Cannot recommend it enough. One of the things that I will just say was a fun takeaway. That's a real easy thing to remember. So if you don't want to go back and listen to the whole, Bourbon 101 episode that we did, one guy mentioned the ABCs of bourbon.
Yeah, that was a really cool.
This is so
way
helpful.
To do it.
Okay, so the ABCs of bourbon. A, it has to be American made. Bourbon can be made anywhere in the United States, but if it's outside of the United States, even if it does the exact same process, it is not
whiskey.
bourbon.
It is not bourbon.
Yeah. And you may have heard the saying that all bourbons are whiskey, but not all are bourbon. And so,
Yeah, not all whiskeys are bourbon.
Right.
That's right.
okay, so A, has to be American made. B, the barrel. It has to be at least 2 years in a new charred oak barrel made from American white oak.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And the crazy part is that can only be used one time.
One time. Yeah. Next batch, all new,
brand new barrels. C is corn. It has to be 51% corn
in your mash bill. So you can also have rye and barleys or that kind of, but 51% at least.
Yeah.
Corn.
So those are the ABCs of your corn liquor. And, it was funny. They talked about this a little bit in that film as well, to think about where do those barrels then go? If they can only be used once, think about the amount of barrels that are now up for grabs. One of the featured guests in the film is a furniture maker, which that was cool to see. I've read that a lot of the barrels go to our friends over in the UK for scotch.
For making scotch. Sometimes even to the Caribbean for rum or
that's
other
true.
things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bourbon has got to be new.
Yeah. And I'm going to be getting into some gift ideas towards the end of our episode. But one gift idea that I'll go ahead and mention is you can buy whiskey barrel smoking chips. Yeah. So these would be made from old barrels as well. So even if you are looking for like a Father's Day gift or a birthday gift.
That's fun.
For a guy, especially that loves to grill or smoke. Because those can be used in smokers or grills.
Yeah.
And they're sold at like Lowe's. There's lots of different, I think even like sporting goods stores sell them. But that would be a very fun gift that's really not even bourbon related.
Yeah, but you could do a grill theme where you've got a few grill things. That's fun. Yes, Father's Day. Yikes, we haven't talked about that yet.
I know.
Got to get on that.
So we want to taste some bourbons because
I have several right at the moment because I just had a birthday.
Yes.
So how fun is that?
The people knew that Lainey loves bourbon, and so
I got 2 for my birthday.
You got 2 new bourbons for your birthday. So and like nice accessory sorts of gifts.
Yeah.
So we also we want to taste the Luxardo cherries, which I'm like drooling.
You've never had one, but they are game changer
for
cherries in cocktails,
according to people I've heard. I mean, they're pretty expensive, so they should be a game changer.
Purchase, so that's certainly something that's a fun gift.
Like this is $20 for a a jar of cherries, versus what, like $3.99 or something, probably.
And they're maraschino for the bright red,
for the
version in the grocery.
The ones in my fridge, the maraschinos, Okay, so where do we want to start?
Well, let's start with this beautiful Woodford Reserve double oaked. Never had a double oaked.
So yes. So we didn't taste this then when we went to Woodford.
I remember tasting this one.
Okay. I definitely saw it because I was intrigued by it being double oaked.
Well, so what that means is it's been in a brand new barrel twice, and that just gives it more opportunity for pulling flavor. So do you want to...
Yeah, so I'm kind of already starting with some water as well, because that was one thing I really appreciated in that film was don't be afraid to incorporate water in tasting a bourbon. You are not pro or super cool because you drink your bourbon neat. Not true.
Right. It's how you
however
like it.
You like
so
it.
If you like it with ice in it, drink it with ice in it. You may change over time that now you don't want as much ice or you don't want.
So this Woodford, this is wonderful, first of all.
Did you smell it first?
I did. It just smells sweet.
It smells really sweet. I smelled on my nose like honey and orange. Was what
I wrote down honey as we were just talking.
Okay.
And then there's just like a subtle spice to it.
Okay.
Kind of.
Okay. I think it's fun to hear different because I didn't write any spice.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I wrote just now. Vanilla.
Okay.
Don't laugh. I tasted banana.
I could see that. I could see that for
And
sure.
then I feel cheesy saying this, but caramel. I'm like, do
Every
they all
bourbon
have-
tastes-
I don't know. I'm still learning.
But that's what's so crazy is as you put this in your mouth, you taste some water, you swallow, you taste some more water. You know, like you kind of mix it. You can taste different flavors.
things. But I was surprised that I, for some reason, got some banana.
So what I am excited about is to taste some of those bitters that you got as well. Those are Woodford Reserve bitters.
2 of them are. One of them's not. Do you want to do that now?
Well, because one of those is called spiced cherry.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just think if you made a drink with both of those in it, which we're not doing right this second, but I just can tell already
with this particular
with that
double
Woodford
oak
and
the
that spiced cherry. Yeah, so I taste in the spiced cherry bitter, I'm tasting some apple.
Uh-huh. Well, so that one is a Woodford Reserve. That's their spiced cherry bitter. And I taste, yeah, I see what you're saying. It is kind of an apple, cinnamon apple, maybe.
Mm-hmm. For fall, that would be so good.
It would be such a good fall drink.
Yeah. Like a, remember when you did a chai,
oh my Lord.
old fashioned?
Vanilla, chai vanilla.
It kind of reminds me of like the
old-fashioned.
flavors
Yes.
of that we had. Okay, let's try the, what's the other one that we're going to try?
So the one in the middle that I have on your plate is their Woodford Reserve aromatic bitter.
Okay.
So no fruit in this one.
Okay.
Just straight
this
up
is just a plain.
an aromatic bitter. So taste that. What do you
Okay,
taste
so
there?
this is a lot of, I feel like I'm about to like spout off all the Trident flavors, like spearmint, not quite a cinnamon, but like a clove.
I had cinnamon and clove written
Okay.
down. Yeah,
So
definitely.
if you like Trident flavors, you would love this aromatic bitter.
And even
it's
if
really
you don't,
good.
like most of these bitters that you're using in a cocktail, like in a normal cocktail, you're going to have 2 to 3 little dashes. So it changes the flavor, but not like, let's say you're like, I don't like cloves. You still
Right.
might be okay having this in a cocktail where there's just 2 or 3.
Absolutely, because these are eyedroppers that are
Right.
in
Dripping.
So
Just
I mean,
the tiny amount.
yes, the tiniest. Or you could, if you really love it, go to town
Well, that's true.
on it.
Remember that cocktail you made not too long ago that had lavender bitters? It was from Peggy's book.
Yes, the porch swing. Yeah,
That was an interesting.
that was too mild of a bitter. Like you had to douse it.
Yeah,
if you
I
really
think the
wanted
recipe
the flavor.
called for just maybe 3 dashes, but we ended up putting like 8. I don't know because we
Dunking it.
liked the lavender
Yeah,
taste.
yeah.
That was really yummy.
Okay, so I liked both of those bitters.
And then this is Old Faithful to me. This is one I just always have. Angostura orange bitters.
Okay, so funny thing, I have that at my house, but I've never just tasted it on its own.
Straight up. Okay,
I've-
taste
I
it
put-
straight up.
I would put it in an old fashioned.
And tell me what
Okay,
you
so
taste.
this is funny. This is to me an orange sweet tart,
okay.
which
No, that's good.
you-
I don't know. I just
sweet and it's tart.
Yeah, it is.
And it's orange.
That's a good
yeah.
representation. I use that usually in my old fashioned.
Yes, that's you told me to buy that.
That's
so.
a good one to have on hand.
Yeah.
And you can do other things with it, but that's what I typically use in my old fashioned. So lots of things you can do with bitters and cocktails.
Yeah.
Fruit juices, simple syrups. There's so many different things. you
Let's
can
try this
do.
cherry. This is what I've been eyeing on the little plate you gave me.
So this is a Luxardo original maraschino cherry.
So it's really
It
dark
comes from
colored.
Italy.
Okay.
And it's really dark. Yeah. Even the syrup is dark that it's in. So
Oh my gosh. So it's like this. Yeah. It's like covered in syrupness. Mm-hmm. Like it's not even dripping
the
off of
color's
it.
pretty. Yeah, the syrup's thick, so it sticks.
And it's chewy,
uh-huh.
but in a wonderful way.
Looks
Like I
pretty
don't
on a toothpick in
want
a
it to
cocktail.
end.
Yes.
See, I love cherries. So when I have like a cherry on top or a cherry and a cherry Coke or something, I actually save that till the very end if I can because I love cherries so much.
I know, just such a glorious ending. So
So-
that's fun in a cocktail to have that on a toothpick, and that's kind of the ending. If you don't want to pay $20 for a jar of cherries, another fun thing to do is when cherries are in season and fresh, to get some cherries. You got to pit them, which can stain your
takes-
hands or your wood board.
True.
But pit some cherries and soak them in bourbon.
Lainey, you are so pro.
That is so yummy too.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah, that's a fun thing you can do. And,
Okay.
doesn't cost a lot
Right.
to do that.
Right. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, are we doing one more?
Let's do one more.
Okay.
So the other birthday bourbon that I received was Basil Hayden's Dark Rye.
Okay, so at first we were like,
Dark Rye. I
that's
don't
an
know.
interesting one.
love-
Probably gonna, love it, but not one
Well,
that
I
I
don't
would
know
like.
if it would have such a strong rye kick that I'd be like, yowza.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good.
Now, before I even taste this, I do remember that Basil Hayden was on Peggy's list of not this particular one,
but just their straight up rye.
Yes, was one to try. If you were just starting to try, if you were brand new to bourbon and you were like, I don't even know where to start, she mentioned that Basil
start
Hayden
with their
is kind of a lower proof
rye.
that
to
would be a
start
good
with.
one to start
Yeah.
with. Yeah. Okay,
Well,
let me
so
try it.
Try the dark.
Okay, smells like maple syrup for sure. Right?
See that? I said brown sugar is what I smelled.
Oh, yeah. That's even more close. This is hard to describe.
To the taste.
Yeah.
Like on the nose, I was just thinking brown sugar, I think. And you said maple syrup. I can see that.
Like I don't know how to put it into words, but I can tell it would be good with Asian food.
Really? I love
Yeah.
Asian food, so this will be fun to pair. So here's what I felt like. I felt like it was almost like a journey. Like when I smelled it, I'm like, brown sugar, this is going to be like just smooth.
Yeah.
Like the other one, it's not. It's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
It's like I got like a kick of spice.
Yes.
And then I felt like the finish was like kind of, this might sound weird, but I felt like the finish was kind of pound cake.
Oh, wow. That's so different than what I'm tasting. That's so fun.
So I went like a
Yeah.
spike and then a more of a smoothness.
Yeah. Kind of how a sugar high treats you. Like you just spike and then you're like end completely somewhere else. I'm surprised at how much I like this.
But
Because I usually don't like rye
well,
very much. So a dark rye, that kind of surprises me. But
so
that was good.
2 new ones to taste, but really, it's fun no matter what you like to just give them a shot, see, and even thinking through food pairing. Like I never would have thought Asian food, but now I just had another sip and I'm like, no, I can see that.
I know, because I almost wanted to say rice. And I'm like, no, this doesn't taste like rice. But something in it is
Makes you
drawing
want
me
rice?
to want rice.
That's awesome.
So,
Okay. That's the fun of tasting and pairing.
tasting. Well, we'll put some links in the show notes if you're interested in any of these specifically, whether they be the bourbons or the bitters. But as I mentioned, Father's Day is coming.
Yep.
Birthdays are year round. So we thought, let's talk about some bourbon gifts and even some of the deliveries that are in and around
Never even
spirits these days.
Yeah, you can get things delivered to your door.
So crazy. I would say one of the things that I find across the board, when you look up wedding gifts for groomsmen, it's all alcohol. Have you noticed that?
Well, there's even the party that you'll often see of Stock the Bar that they have for the guy.
True.
Which is that very thing.
Yeah.
Everybody bring alcohol for him.
Yeah. So if you are in a position and you're needing wedding party gifts, then this is a shoo-in. Okay, so let me give you a couple of things that I found that were just bourbon-related fun gifts off of a site called Uncommon Goods.
They have some creative things.
So fun. And this is just a few of them. If you go to that site, there's lots of bourbon-related gifts, more than I'm going to talk about today. But one that I just loved was a bourbon barrel customized Lazy Susan.
So cool.
Okay, so you can customize it with like the name or the
a
year they got
couple.
married or,
Oh,
you know,
cute.
whatever. Your
Yeah.
birthday, the birthday, or even just celebrating, arrival to a new city or something,
That's cute.
whatever. But that was super cute. There were home state ice cube molds.
Oh, my Lord.
So cute. So this would be great even for somebody that
has a lot of stuff.
Doesn't
or
partake
doesn't
in
do cocktails.
Yeah.
They just do
This will just be fun to put in any sort of a drink.
any glass.
So imagine it's like a square, but in the square you could see like the outline of, let's say, your state, and then
so-
it says the
okay.
state name.
Okay, so it's not like a jaggedy
No, it's not a jaggedy ice.
shape of the state.
It's a solid
square.
ice.
Got it.
But the one in the picture was Texas, and it just looked so fun.
People are so creative. I've seen ice molds that were like a rose
Yes.
and things like that where I'm like, that is so funny.
Well, really, any sort of ice molds would be a good gift. It doesn't have to be this cute
That's
state
right.
thing. Like those circular molds, the
Yeah.
big squares.
Yeah,
Any
whatever.
of those are good.
Yeah.
But look at this whiskey wedge glass. Okay, I'm going to show you a picture, and I'll link it in our show notes.
Okay.
So
Very cool.
you're creating. So imagine just
You got your
a short glass, and then you've got this sloping, they said create a sloping mini glacier of ice that chills your libation with less dilution
Yep.
than faster melting rocks or ice.
So the glass, it ends up filling it halfway at an angle
Yeah.
with ice.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at it, it looks like half ice, half alcohol
Yeah.
at an angle. Super cool. And I can see how it wouldn't dilute real fast
Right.
because it's not touching.
Yeah, and it's
most
not
of
going to
it.
water down your beverage.
That's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, so those are all from Uncommon Goods. I wanted to mention those. And then, we mentioned some of these things here. Cherries, bitters, those are all fun gifts. If you're like, I don't even know.
What
I'm
kind
not getting
of-
this person that loves bourbon. I'm not getting them a
I'm
bourbon.
scared to pick
Yeah,
one. Then
yeah.
get them some fun bitters or some fun extras,
Yeah.
simple syrups, or
Yeah.
these wonderful cherries or garnishes.
Absolutely.
That's so cute.
So one of the fun things about you getting the Woodford was that it was delivered here by
Drizzly.
Drizzly.
From my sweet friend, Michelle. So I had never had any alcohol delivered like that or been gifted that.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with their format.
Okay.
So, for instance, I got an email that said, that Michelle's gifted you this. I didn't know what was coming. I just knew I have an alcohol purchase that's coming.
You're like, this is fun.
oh, what kind of alcohol is coming to my door? I can't walk right now. This is great. So, I literally got to pick the delivery time hour by hour. Like,
Wow.
it was like, do you want it at 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1? Like,
Wow.
that's pretty awesome.
That's
I'm not
great.
sitting here for 3 hours
Right.
like I am for AT&T or Comcast. And then they still don't come at that time. And
True.
it's not you got to keep waiting. They were very timely, very nice. I just thought that
I've
was
used
awesome.
them. I've used Drizzly. They're nationwide, I believe.
Okay.
And so, I've used them to just place an order. I actually did it during the quarantine
Okay.
because none of our liquor stores were open. So I just went on their app and placed my order, and I think it was maybe even that afternoon that it came.
Wow. I'm so the last one to the delivery game.
Well, I wouldn't have done it if I would have been able to go into the store, but you literally couldn't go into the stores during this time. So, yeah, so that was a good experience. And, Instacart, Postmates, DoorDash, they actually all do alcohol delivery now.
Okay.
So I found a good Forbes article that they had already done all the research, and they have written up the best article delivery services. So I can post that in the show
wanna
notes as
see
well,
that.
because they have it broken down by best if you're purchasing wine, best for spirits, best for tacking onto a grocery order. Like,
Okay.
because all of these delivery services kind of have their niche already
Sure.
anyway. So, but you know what I actually love about using this is it relieves any pressure of having somebody over your shoulder if you're in the liquor store or you're in the aisle.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel that where
Yeah.
you're just like, I
Well-
want to study this. I want to read labels. I want
So
to.
I have a question. If you're on that Drizzly, let's say,
Yeah.
and you click on Woodford Reserve Double Oaked, does it tell you anything about it, or do you just?
Shoot, I don't really remember.
Okay, well, but you are just sitting at home, so you could go to Woodford's site and read about
Oh,
Double
for sure.
Oaked and go, oh, that
No,
sounds
it's-
good. I'm gonna go see if they have that one.
Yeah, it's not going to give you the level of detail that I think you're wanting.
Okay, but you're sitting where you could do the research. Whereas if you're at the liquor store and you're like, oh my gosh, now I don't remember which basil Hayden to get.
Right. Or I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I've
And they're like,
I've
can
been
I help
in
you?
stores
Do you
where
know- are you a rye drinker? And you're like, I don't know what I am.
can I just look? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or other patrons that,
And
know,
you're
just
5 minutes later, you're still there, and they're like, "Are you finding everything? Are you still?" And you're
Yeah.
like, I'm great.
They're like, is she lost? She must not know anything about bourbon because she's taking so long. I don't know. I kind of feel that.
Oh, I do too.
Not just in one store. I'm talking about just in general. It doesn't matter. Unless it's like a grocery store, which our spirits aren't carried in our grocery stores. There's not a lot of people
Right.
lingering
That's
over
true.
your shoulder. But
Right.
it seems like in package stores.
And at some
There
point,
are.
we could have a whole conversation on it would be so cool. Oh my goodness. I just had this grand idea in the moment. If we had a chat room of sorts where we could talk about in different places where you are in the South, where is there not the snobbery? Because you and I have talked about we cannot stand the snobbery that you feel in certain liquor stores. 'Cause
Absolutely.
you're not in the bourbon club.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be so fun to have chats about
Chats of, hey, I had
who's real and fun and cool.
Yeah.
And I want to go in there when I'm in Louisville.
That's a good, hey, maybe we need to start that on our Facebook. We can get a little chat going. Yeah. So anyway, there's some good delivery services out there too, if you're wanting to do that. We had one thing we wanted to sort of announce on behalf of Bourbon Women, unfortunately.
Wah, wah.
So they are having to cancel their Sip-posium, which was going to be meeting in August in Lexington.
We were really hoping to go to.
Louisville. And, was it Lexington or Louisville?
I was thinking it was Lexington.
I
but
think it
could
was
be wrong.
Lexington. So they'll meet in 2021. They're excited to do that. So they'll do it bigger and better.
Yeah.
But they are going to do a virtual series that they're going to announce details around this Sunday, which is National
for
Bourbon
National
Day.
Bourbon Day. Okay.
So if you're interested in doing something with them, that was something that we mentioned on our Peggy No Stevens interview.
Well, that could be, again, a fun thing if you're not really feeling comfortable to travel yet, or you want to get a couple of friends to sit with.
True.
Do something from home. I actually kind of need from home at the moment. So
Yes,
this
you do.
might be good for me.
And so in celebration of National Bourbon Day, we are going to be posting recipes this week of even just sort of food recipes that are bourbon focused or include
My favorite
bourbon.
Kentucky Mule.
Yeah, you're
I'll
going to
give y'all
post
that.
where the recipe for that. So look for Lainey's favorite Kentucky Mule. But yeah, we're going to participate socially as well. So
You should be following us.
if you're not following us already on Instagram and Facebook, you need to do that. Especially Instagram. We post most of our stuff there. So
Besides, we want to interact with y'all. You're our peoples.
Yes.
So we want to interact with you.
yes, we get all kinds of fun comments. So
Yeah.
we would love to hear from you.
So with that, you guys enjoy your week. Make yourself a mocktail or a cocktail and savor it with the people you love.
Yes.
And we just want to say peace be with you.
And also with y'all.